I let my best friend, who married my sister, invest my inheritance. He promised 10% returns. When I asked for my money back, he said it was gone in the market. But then I found photos of him in Bali with a Rolex and a new sports car. I showed my sister. She said, "He told me you donated it to us." But what she didn't know was I'd recorded our last conversation. I'm 42 years old. I live in Topeka, Kansas. I work as an electrician. I don't make a ton of money, but I do all right. I've always tried to live smart, keep my debt low, pay things off fast, never waste money on stuff I don't need. That's how I was raised. My parents were old school, middle-class folks who worked hard every day. They didn't leave me a big fortune, but when they both passed, mom from cancer, then dad a year later from a heart attack, they left behind something. Between the life insurance and the sale of their small house, I ended up with about $183,000. I was crushed losing them, especially both so close together. But I promised myself I'd use that money in a way that made them proud. At first, I was planning to buy a rental property. I'd even found a 2-family house in Kansas City, needed a little work but seemed solid. I wanted something long-term, something that could grow slowly. Then my friend Tyler stepped in. I've known Tyler since high school. He was always the talker. Always had an answer. He could talk his way out of anything. He was the kind of guy you liked even when you knew you shouldn't. I was quieter, more serious. He made friends easy. I didn't. But somehow, we always stayed close. He ended up marrying my younger sister Rachel 5 years ago. That was a bit weird at first, I won't lie. But I figured if he made her happy, it was fine. We were close, so it made sense that our lives would cross paths like that. When I told him about the inheritance and the rental house, he looked excited. "You're thinking too small," he told me. I asked what he meant. "I've been working with a firm that invests in short-term assets, stuff like private funds, real estate flips, secured notes. We've been pulling in 10% annual returns, easy." He said if I gave him the money, he could put it into one of these investments. Said he was already doing it for a couple of friends and even put some of his own savings into it. He made it sound safe. Safer than being a landlord. No tenants to deal with. No repairs. He promised I'd see more in 6 months than I would in a year as a landlord. I was skeptical. I asked for proof. He showed me what looked like statements and spreadsheets. I even called the number on the firm's business card, but now I realize that was probably someone he paid to answer and sound professional. I should have listened to my gut. Instead, I wired him $150,000. He told me we'd keep $33,000 aside as liquidity, and the rest would be invested. The first 2 months, he sent me updates. Spreadsheets, emails saying we're up 2% this month or solid growth so far. It looked okay. But by month 4, the updates stopped. I asked him about it, and he said, "We hit a rough patch, but don't worry. It's all about long-term gains. Pulling out now would be dumb." I asked for my money back. He told me it was locked in and that trying to take it out now would mean losing most of it. That's when my stomach started to drop. 2 more months went by. No updates. No returns. Then I saw his name tagged in a photo on Instagram. It wasn't his profile, it was someone else's, his cousin's. They were in Bali. I clicked through the photos. There was Tyler in designer sunglasses, wearing a Rolex, and standing in front of a bright red Corvette. Another shot showed him and Rachel sipping from coconuts under a private cabana. The caption said, "Tyler's new baby smiling face with sunglasses #Bali #new car #grind paid off." I sat there staring at it. He said he lost my money. Now he's in Bali, driving a Corvette, and wearing a Rolex? I screenshotted everything. I called Rachel that night. "Hey," I said. "I need to talk to you about something. About Tyler. About the money." She didn't sound surprised. What money? The money I gave him to invest. She paused. He told me you gave it to us. Gave? Yeah. He said you wanted to help us out. Said you didn't need it. My jaw clenched. Do you believe that? I mean, it sounded like something you might do. I didn't say anything. I felt like I was gonna throw up. She kept talking, but I barely heard her. What she didn't know was I had recorded the last conversation I had with Tyler before handing him the money. He had said, "You're gonna thank me for this. I've done this before. We're talking 10% returns, easy. Safer than any rental." I had it saved. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew this: they weren't getting away with it. 3 weeks later, I invited them over for dinner. I told Rachel I wanted to make peace. "I've been angry," I said on the phone. "But I don't want to stay that way. Let's have dinner, just the three of us. Talk things out." She sounded relieved. "That would be good. He's been stressed." "We all have." "Stressed?" "Yeah, I bet. I planned everything. I made pork chops, mashed potatoes, and corn. The kind of meal my parents would have made. I wanted it to feel familiar. Comforting. Normal." But nothing about that night was normal. When they showed up, Tyler walked in like he owned the place. He smiled, slapped my back, handed me a bottle of wine. "Missed this," he said, looking around my small house. "Feels like old times." I smiled and nodded, but inside I was boiling. Rachel seemed quiet. She barely made eye contact with me. I could tell she was nervous, maybe confused. We sat down. Ate. Talked about the weather. Work. Nothing real. Then, as I served dessert, just some peach cobbler from the store, I stood up and said, "Hey, I want to play something for you." Tyler raised an eyebrow. "Play something?" I walked to the kitchen counter and hit play on my Bluetooth speaker. The recording started. "You're gonna thank me for this. I've done this before. We're talking 10% returns, easy. Safer than any rental." Tyler froze. Rachel looked confused. "What is that?" she asked. "That," I said, "is the conversation I had with Tyler. Right before I gave him $150,000. She turned to him slowly. "You told me he gave it to us." Tyler's mouth opened. Then closed. He looked trapped. "Rachel," he started. "I was trying to protect you from stress." He did offer. "No," I cut in. "I didn't offer. You pitched it. You told me you were investing it. You told me I'd see returns. And instead, I see you wearing a Rolex in Bali." Rachel looked like she was about to cry. "You told me you earned that trip. That it was a work bonus." Then I dropped the photos on the table. The screenshots. The Instagram tags. The car. The resort. She picked them up, flipped through them, and then just stared. "This is what you were doing with his money," she whispered. Tyler stood up. "Okay, this is getting blown out of proportion," I cut him off again. "You lied to me. You stole from me. And you lied to her." "I didn't steal, you took my money under false pretenses." "That's theft." Rachel looked like she was shrinking into her chair. Her face had gone pale. "Why would you do this?" she asked, her voice small. He didn't answer. That night, Rachel stayed behind after he stormed out. She sat on my couch in silence for almost an hour. Finally, she said, "I didn't know. I really didn't." I nodded. "I believe you. But I can't just let this go." She understood. She moved out a week later. Into a small rental near my house. She stopped wearing her wedding ring. I started building the case. I gathered every text. Every email. the bank wire receipt, the audio file, the screenshots. I even dug up messages from other people who Tyler had tried to help with investments. A friend of mine from high school, Phil, said Tyler had asked him for $25,000 for a startup last year. Phil said no, but now he realized how close he came to losing everything. Then I went to the police. They listened. They took copies of everything. An investigator told me, "This may take a while, but this isn't nothing. This is real." Meanwhile, Tyler started texting me. "Let's talk. I'll get you your money. We can work this out." I didn't answer. Then one night, he showed up at my job site. Waited near my truck. "We don't have to do this, man," he said. "I'll pay you. I just need time." "You had time," I said. "You chose to lie. I'm done." He didn't follow me after that. But I knew it was only the beginning. A few weeks later, I heard from a woman named Janine. She found me through Rachel's Facebook. She said Tyler told her he was a private investor and convinced her to give him $40,000 from her divorce settlement. "I haven't seen a dime," she said. "And when I asked for it, he ghosted me." I connected her with the same detective. Then I heard from another guy, someone Tyler worked with 5 years ago at a real estate firm. Same story. Investment scam. $10,000 gone. It was getting worse. The police opened a formal fraud investigation. Rachel filed for divorce. And me? I wasn't done. Tyler thought it was over. He probably figured the worst thing that could happen was losing Rachel and dealing with some paperwork. Maybe paying back some of what he took. He had no idea what was coming. About a month after the investigation started, I got a call from a guy named Vince. He said he used to be in a small investment group with Tyler 2 years ago. A buddy of his had heard about what was going on and tipped him off that Tyler was under investigation. "I lost $18,000 to that piece of garbage," Vince said. "He told me it was for a startup app. Turned out he never even filed the LLC paperwork." Vince worked in IT and offered to help me track some of the financial trails Tyler left behind. Turns out Tyler wasn't very careful. He used his personal email for everything. Vince found a trail of PayPal and Zelle payments Tyler received from other people who thought they were investing in something real. A few of those emails led to Facebook accounts, and some of those people had even posted vague complaints years ago about being burned. This wasn't a one-time mistake. Tyler had been doing this for years. I brought everything we found to the detective on the case. When she saw the stack of victims was growing, she brought in a financial crimes unit. Then came the big twist. Rachel found a locked box in their apartment. She was going through the place while preparing to move her stuff out. She'd already filed for divorce by then, and she was done believing any of his lies. The box had credit card statements Tyler had hidden from her. Dozens of them. Most were maxed out. Luxury items. Flights. Electronics. It wasn't just my money. He had been living off lies and debt for years. She also found a burner phone with messages from another woman. Tyler was cheating on her. He was using stolen money to cheat on my sister. That lit a new kind of fire in her. Rachel gave everything to the police. Then she gave it to me. She said, "I want you to see who he really is." I read every text. I read the way he lied to the other woman the same way he lied to us. Promising investments, future plans, even hinting at marriage. That was when I realized, Tyler didn't just steal money. He stole time. He stole trust. He stole my sister's hope. And he tried to turn her against me with lies. I couldn't let him walk away from this with just a slap on the wrist. So I made one more move. I had a friend named Joel, runs a podcast that covers scams and financial fraud. He's not famous or anything, but he has a solid local following. I told him everything. I gave him the audio, the texts, the photos, the messages from other victims, everything. He asked if he could do a special series on it. I said yes. He called it the Tyler Files. The first episode came out 2 weeks later. Joel used a voice actor to reread the recordings. He protected the victims' names but laid out the full scheme, step by step. He played my recording of Tyler, matched it with screenshots of him in Bali, and broke down the money trail with the help of Vince. The podcast blew up. Local news picked it up. Tyler's face ended up on a segment called The Con Next Door. The day that aired, Tyler's boss fired him. He had a small marketing job at a firm in town, one he'd never told anyone about. They didn't like finding out one of their employees was under investigation for fraud. I found out later he tried to get the story pulled, said it was libel. But the podcast used all public documents, police reports, and evidence we gave freely. There was no lawsuit to be had. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse for him, something else happened. Remember the Corvette from Bali? It wasn't even registered in his name. It was leased under Rachel's social security number. He had forged her signature on the paperwork. That opened a whole new charge, identity theft. Rachel filed a report. The dealership cooperated. The feds got involved. Tyler was cornered. But somehow, he still tried to call me. One night, around midnight, I saw his number light up on my phone. I let it go to voicemail. He left a message. "You think you're some kind of hero? You destroyed everything. Everything I built. I hope you're proud of yourself." He didn't sound angry. He sounded broken. And I'll be honest, part of me felt a little pity. But only for a second. Then I remembered the look on my sister's face when she realized her husband wasn't just a liar, but a thief. A cheater. A con. I remembered what it felt like to think my best friend had my back, and then watch him vanish with the money my parents left me. No. Tyler didn't build anything. He took. And now, finally, things were being taken from him. 6 months after the podcast blew up, Tyler was arrested in front of a sandwich shop on Wanamaker Road. It wasn't some big dramatic chase. 2 plainclothes officers walked up, showed their badges, and cuffed him right there on the sidewalk. He was holding a smoothie. I watched the security footage later. He looked like he was still trying to figure out what was happening. They charged him with 7 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of identity theft, and 1 count of grand larceny. They had more than enough to make it stick. Rachel's forged lease. My wire transfer. Janine's bank statements. Dozens of emails and messages. Even a few victims from another state who heard the podcast and came forward. Turns out Tyler had done this in Arizona before he moved to Kansas. He'd just changed the story, the names, the lies. They offered him a deal: plead guilty and cooperate, or go to trial. He pled guilty. In court, he looked like a completely different person. No Rolex. No fake charm. Just a wrinkled dress shirt and hands that couldn't stop shaking. The judge didn't go easy on him. She called it a pattern of calculated betrayal that preyed on personal trust. He was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison, with no chance of parole for at least 3. Rachel got a clean divorce. She got her name off every lease, debt, and fake account he had tied her to. It took months of paperwork and help from a lawyer, but she got it done. She moved in with a friend out in Lawrence and started fresh. Changed her phone number. Got a new job at a nonprofit. She doesn't talk about Tyler anymore. Last time we met up, she just said, "I should have seen it sooner." I didn't want to. I didn't blame her. Some wounds you don't see until they're already deep. As for me, yeah, I got some of my money back. The court ordered restitution. It'll take years to get the full amount, but so far I've recovered about $68,000. The Fed seized one of Tyler's secret accounts. He had $23,000 sitting in crypto, hidden under a fake LLC name. We traced it. That was satisfying. But money wasn't the real win. Here's what really did it for me. About a month after he was sentenced, I got a message on Facebook. It was from a woman named Tasha. She was the woman Tyler had been seeing on the side. The one from the texts Rachel found. She said she'd heard the podcast and felt sick to her stomach. He had told her he was single, that he was building a tech company, that his jealous ex-best friend was trying to ruin him out of envy. He even told her I was crazy and obsessed. He had me blocked from everything once I asked about the money, she wrote. I just want to say, I'm sorry. And thank you. You saved a lot of people. That stuck with me. Because yeah, I was angry. I wanted revenge. And I got it. But along the way, I helped take down a guy who had been ruining people's lives for years. That's more than revenge. That's justice. And here's something else. I finally bought the duplex. Same one I looked at in the beginning, in Kansas City. It needed more work by the time I circled back to it, but I didn't care. I paid for it with what was left of my inheritance and a small loan I could handle. I've been doing the repairs myself on weekends. One unit is already rented. The other? Rachel's moving in next month. Yeah, she's paying rent. I wouldn't take a dime from her at first, but she insisted. Said, I need to rebuild. Let me start with paying my way. I respected that. We don't talk much about Tyler anymore. His name is like a bad taste. But we both know we lived it. We both came through it. And now we're building something real. And me? I learned a hard lesson. Trust is earned. Not assumed. Even if it's your best friend. Even if it's family. But I also learned something else. When someone tries to take everything from you, your money, your family, your name, you don't have to fight dirty to get even. Sometimes, the cleanest revenge is shining a light on every single lie. And letting the truth burn them down.